everyone, welcome to another video. This is Kat with PinotScroll.com, and today we're going to be talking about how to properly taste a wine. And as always, we have our camera woman Liv back there.
Hey everybody.
So let's get started. Alright, so to begin with properly tasting wine, you always want to make sure that you have a white surface to look at your wine, to really get the tints and the colors. So I'm going to be just using a white sheet of paper here, and I have in front of me a 2018 Cabernet Franc. So what you want to do first is you want to just tilt your glass over the white surface, and there are several components when it comes to visual with a wine. So the 6 components that you want to look for when you're visualizing a wine is the color, the brightness, the tints, the viscosity, the meniscus, which is just that little rim right outside of the top of the surface of the wine, the thickness of it, and the legs, which I'll explain in just a moment. So you pick up your wine, and in order to see the brightness, you can just move it ever so slightly while you're looking at the top of the wine, and notice how the light bounces off of the top. So if it's really bright and lots of light bouncing off, it's probably a younger wine, this signifies. So this one looks like it has some brightness, but it's not dull, it's not too old, so I would guess somewhere around 2 years old. So this is a 2018. Next thing you want to look at is the meniscus of the wine. So the meniscus, as we said, is just the little rim outside of the surface of the wine. So it has a medium meniscus, which also signifies that thicker meniscuses signify that a wine is older, while thinner meniscuses signify that a wine is younger. So this has, I'd say, a medium thickness, so about 2 to 4 years old.
And just a quick question.
Yes.
When we have meniscus in plural, is it meniscuses or menisci? Meniscusi.
Meniscus. The third thing that we're going to be looking at are the legs or the tiers of the wine. So you want to do this carefully without swirling it, because we still have to get through the first nose and the second nose. So what you want to do is you just want to gently kind of make your way around with the wine and just watch as they start to slowly descend. So you can tell a lot about a wine just by looking at the little streams that are coming down on the edge of the glass.
Just by looking at its legs.
Its legs, if you're a leg person. So these legs, they are coming down slower. They are not pigmented. Sometimes when you do that, the streams are just red. That means, you know, it's probably coming from a very pigmented grape. So these are nice and thick. So this measures the alcohol in a wine. If the legs are thinner and they drop very fast, that means that the alcohol level is higher in the wine. But if they're thicker and they drop more slowly, then lower alcohol. So I think that this one is, what is this one, a 13%er? I think I have it. Yes, so this is a 13.5% wine. So, you know, when you have a 15 or 16% wine, the legs would tend to trickle faster and be thinner. And these are not very pigmented, so that means that the wine itself, Cabernet Franc, doesn't tend to have a very thick skin, not a lot of pigment. It's dark, but it has just a medium skin to it. Next, we're gonna look at our tints and our robe, or our color of the wine. So the tints are normally further up towards the top of the glass, while the main color is just towards the bottom, at the deepest part of the wine. So for this wine, I would describe it to have a ruby, kind of violet-y robe with garnet tints. So as a wine gets older, the tints kind of go from ruby to more of a brick, and then kind of fades into terracotta and brown. And when a wine is very young, the wine can appear very purple, ruby, just very red. So this wine, I would say, has more of garnet tint with a little bit of purple. So it tells you it's between 2 to 4 years old. I would guess more towards 2, because I think more towards 4 it would start to appear more kind of bricky red, more fading into the browns. Now let's move on to the nose. So before you swirl your wine, there's a first nose, which is just how it's poured. So I get a lot of, ooh, that's a good one. Some black pepper. I get a little bit of hay as well, like farm hay. Oh, and definitely some eucalyptus, some kind of minty characters. So now, on the second nose, those are your primary aromas. So on the second nose, you just like to give it a nice swirl. And if you don't know how to swirl your wine, mid-air, you can just make little circles in front of you. So now this really opens up. You can really get those minty characters, as well as some cooked fruits. You can get some cooked red and black cherries. Oh, and a hint of green bell pepper, which green bell pepper is very commonly found in Cabernet Francs. So now moving on to the taste.
Not actual green bell pepper, right? Just the scent.
Just the scent. It is not found in Cabernet Franc. The scent of green bell pepper.
Very good.
So last but certainly not least, we're gonna do tasting. So when you taste a wine, you wanna break it down into categories. First is the entry. So when you first take that sip of wine, what is your first impression? Is it, sweet, or is it fresh, fruity? And then as you go along, for red wines, there's the tannic evolution, or for white wines, there is the acidic evolution. So meaning, how do those, for example, this red wine, how do those tannins dissolve as you're tasting? Are they strong? Are they heavy? Are they smooth? Are they silky? Are they kind of grainy? Which moves us into the mid palate. So the mid palate is the general mouthfeel of the wine. So that's where you're kind of swishing it around and you're trying to get the main feel of the wine. Is it mouth coating? Is it rich? Really, this is where you focus in on the tannins of the texture of the wine. And then there is the end palate / finish. So the end palate is when you swallow, does your mouth water? So the acidity, the finish, a good wine always has acidity on the finish. So does your mouth water from the back of your cheeks right here? You feel a little zinger when you swallow that wine. That tells me that the wine is well made, or it's just a good wine in general. And the finish is what kind of flavors are lasting on your palate. Do you get some black cherries? Do you get some licorice, some black pepper on the end? So with that being said, I'm gonna taste this wine and just kind of go along as I taste it. So this wine, I would describe it as being very straightforward on the entry. Nice, strong tannic evolution. I describe the mouthfeel as very rich, a little bit dry, definitely. You get kind of not so fine tannins. They're a little bit grainy, which is fabulous with a nice steak or something more hearty. The end palate / finish, you definitely get that zinger that I'm looking for. It's a very well balanced wine, and I describe the finish as medium to long length, which means it's a good 6 to 10 seconds. I can still get those flavors that I'm looking for. Like this really hits the spot for me with a Cab Franc. So Cab Franc is well known for having those green bell pepper hints, but this one in particular really tastes like grilled green pepper to me, which I love in a good Cab Franc. And I can just really taste that for a good 6 to 10 seconds. So overall, I would buy this wine again. It's a great wine, and I would recommend, you know, having a steak or something hearty with it. So just to recap, you know, with everything being said today, as long as you enjoy your wine when you taste it, you find it tastes good, you know, each to their own. Like, I always look for that acidic kind of backdrop at the end. I love that in a wine. You know, I love more straightforward wines with that, you know, those tannins that really coat the mouth. But at the end of the day, just try to appreciate the wine you have in front of you for what it is. Don't be looking for things that aren't there. Like, for example, I'm a big Pinot Noir fan. This wine is far from a Pinot Noir. I would not compare it to a Pinot Noir at all. So just try to appreciate your wine for what it is, and always remember to enjoy it with friends, family, and in good spirits. Santé.